Welcome to the Practicing Accountant Podcast, your go-to resource for transforming your accounting practice. This podcast is for accountants ready to take control of their business and build their ideal practice by mastering the essentials, setting the right prices, defining a powerful niche, and selling with ease. We'll dive into strategies that boost profits, attract your ideal clients, elevate your services, and help you choose the most effective pricing models. We are champions for efficiency, value, and intentionality, and adversaries of people-pleasing, bad clients, and complacency. We provide actionable strategies to help you break the hamster wheel of typical accounting work. The mission of the Practicing Accountant Podcast is simple: to enhance your experience as an entrepreneurial accountant and help you turn neglected practices into a thriving business. So, if you're ready to level up your practice, this podcast is for you. Tune in and let's get to work. I have in my hands the November 2022 Journal of Accountancy.
Yay.
Which was the first time I had heard of you. And this very nice article here in the back, The Last Word with You, and a great little bit about you and what you do, have done, are doing. I actually print these out. Like they stopped actually sending them. Yeah. And so I still print them out. So I don't know how much paper I've wasted printing these things out. But I did print out the digital version of the JOA. But this was the first time that I had heard of you, and I'm excited to have you here today. How are you?
Great. And I forgot about that one.
Did you?
I've got it somewhere, but yeah, that was a while ago. I'm wondering what that is. I love that especially with the physical magazine.
Uh-huh.
It was always a cool segment just to hear about people and their career. And so I can't remember what all I talked about, but I have had a pretty interesting career as well.
Well, they stopped doing it. Now it's just, the last 20 pages of the JOA now are like Excel tips and or how to prompt ChatGPT or something. It's become very, very, very tech heavy, I've noticed of late. And bigger too. It's like 80 pages these days.
Yeah, and they're changing lots of things, so it's some good, some bad, and it's it's quite a big organization, so it's kind of sad to see the magazine go, but they've got it's a very big, it's like a government almost.
Yeah, right.
I've volunteered a lot with the AICPA over the years on their cannabis committee and other things, and so I love working with them, but yeah, they're a big organization and they make lots of changes.
And awfully bureaucratic, I would imagine.
Yeah. So
that's the word in my head.
Lots of overhead.
Yeah, right. So tell me about you and share a little bit about who you are and a little bit of your journey and maybe some interesting detours along the way.
Detours and well, first and foremost, I'm 61. I'm the youngest of the baby boomers, and so we're all hearing about that. It's affecting not just accountants, doctors, lawyers, airplane pilots. We're all aging out. I had first interesting thing is I didn't even really, I got a finance degree in 1986, but I didn't even go back to college to get my accounting degree till I was close to 27 or 8. So I started very late. Because of that, I studied extra hard. In my first round at Colorado, I didn't study so hard at Boulder, and I still made like a 3.0 at a fairly, what I would call not a hard college. And got a.
So you're a buff. I didn't know you were a buff.
Yeah, I'm a Buffalo.
So we're buffs.
Oh, you're a buff too.
You're in the right place. No, I actually got kicked out of CU though. I for reasons that had nothing to do with school, reasons very much so to do with my social life. But
yeah, really.
But yeah.
Well,
so yeah.
Survived and got a finance degree. I should have gotten an accounting degree the first time, but when I went back, I was working in a warehouse during the days. I'd had a failed business behind me, and I was like, oh, I better get my act together. I'm getting older. I was told over and over, Big Four will never hire you. It was Big Six back then because you're too old. And so I was like, okay, I got to make straight A's on the rest of my accounting degree, and I've got to crush the CPA exam. I studied so hard for a full year. I ended up winning the gold medal award in the state of Oklahoma I think I got 99s on the accounting and tax sections and 97 and 97. So
So
I
just to clarify, that award means that you scored the highest of anyone in the state, right?
in the whole state of
Yeah.
Oklahoma, actually at that point ever before. And but that was the good news. That strategy actually worked, and it got me offers at all the big firms in Dallas. I ended up at Price Waterhouse. It's PwC now. It was Price Waterhouse Coopers back then,
Mm-hmm.
and then I got to that audit manager level. So from there, it was a more traditional track. I went up to audit manager in public. Then I left for a client, was CFO for 10 years from 2000 to 2010 in oil and gas, which I hated, but but I was pretty successful in that career. And we had, a big multi-generational, like 80 or 90 entities in this four generation family. Um, and in the midst of that 10 years, my boss and I co-founded a drilling company called Forest Drilling, and we raised a bunch of private equity, around 70 million. Um, Built that company out for 3 years, sold it to Chesapeake Energy for a lot of money, and when that happened, I basically semi-retired in 2010. I said, I'm out of here. And we moved to where we were vacationing. I was in Oklahoma, and we used to vacation in Bend, Oregon, which is a ski town, rock climbing, mountain
Uh-huh.
biking. And we started visiting here in 2004 and 5. And 2010, we just said, I left. And so in one way, that was a really bad career move. I left oil and gas, which I was making an absolute fortune in. I could have written my ticket in oil and gas. We could have done another startup, but I hated oil and gas. I didn't want to live in Oklahoma anymore. And so I just started. I mean, I didn't need a huge income at the time, so I moved to Oregon. I was like, well, I'll just see what's going on there. I didn't know anybody out here at all. And I just kind of was doing fractional CFO work up till around 2015, 16, when cannabis came here. And so this was all just kind of, we all get opportunities in front of us. That was just kind of a random opportunity. I just happened to be in the right place at the right time. And I got into cannabis and I never set out to create Dope CFO, but it was accidental. Like I think that saying, you build a better mousetrap and the world will beat a path to your door. So I had started companies and invented things. I mean, for 30 years, I've done all kinds of things that I set out with an idea to create. Usually they didn't work, or they worked partially or whatever. Dope CFO was the opposite. I never did anything. Literally, the world beat a path to my doorstep and started asking me for things, and I started making them. But it was kind of accidental that I was in the cannabis space. I needed stuff just to serve my clients that did not exist. It wasn't on Google. It was nowhere. And so I had to build things. Accounting tools is where it started. Started with a chart of accounts for the 5 verticals. And then I had to build a PBC list and controls documents and cost accounting tools. And over time, where we are today, 8 years later, well, since I launched Dope CFO, I think there's 165 work papers in our program.
Wow.
And they've all been over the years. If I didn't already have created them for myself, if someone came into my program and said, "Oh, do you have a note payable confirm, or do you have this or that?" If I didn't have it, I'd build it.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
not only would I build it, I'd put it out to my community of CPAs and have them vet it and improve it. And so where we are to now, it's very hard pressed for someone to find something they need in their practice to deliver accounting, tax, and CFO to hemp, cannabis, CBD industry. It's already been built. It would be, and if it isn't built, it'd be something extremely not, you wouldn't need it every day.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's kind of how I fell into this place. I actually got another award in 2017. And again, I didn't know about this. Someone nominated me. I was at High Five Farms, which was a kind of a high profile cannabis company. And they nominated me for CFO of the year in Oregon. No one in cannabis had ever won. And I got second place. I didn't win. I got runner up. That's kind of the launch of Dope CFO, because when that happened, I got a little bit of visibility and people just started literally finding me out of the middle of nowhere, emails or phone calls, and saying, "Hey, I got a client. I'm in Oklahoma or wherever.
Mm-hmm.
I need a chart of accounts." can I buy it from you? I heard you had it.
Yeah.
And then they'd come back with, what about controls documents? And they just kept coming for more stuff. And the first stuff they wanted, I already had. And then over time, people would, oh, do you have a financial model for a capital raise? I didn't have one at the time, so I built it. So we just slowly started building from there. So I kind of accidentally fell into this. And then over the years, again, customers just kept asking. It was all at first tools and work papers. People were just simply sending me money for mostly Excel files, and not cheap either, because I was like, I'm billing $200 an hour. I've got 10 hours in this. If you want to send me a bunch of money, I'll give you my Excel file, but otherwise I'm not.
All right.
But over time that evolved into those 160 work papers. We now have people ask for education. We have 100 hours of education in our program. We have after that, people wanted, how the heck do I do marketing and sales and client acquisition? So we have a whole massive build out of client acquisition stuff. And then they wanted community, they wanted events. So we have a network community, and we just kept adding and adding. We had a mastermind. We now have a franchise. And so as long as I'm having fun, I'll keep doing it. But it's been a lot of fun. I tell people there are a lot of programs out there, and I think probably the reason Dope CFO is so good is because I didn't set out to create it. It was literally by the customers.
You would have overthought it, right? You would have
And
pushed too hard some way.
it was just a side hustle, and people were asking me for more. And if I had time, I'd build more and add more. And then eventually, at some point, I shut down my client business and gave away all those clients to my customers. And then it just grew from there. And so it's been a lot of fun. I believe this is the most fun niche in industry. Now, side note, in 2012, I think, or 13, Andrew Argue, who's pretty well known, I took his program. Actually, I was, I think, the seventh person.
He's in Chicago, right?
He's in Miami now, I think.
Now.
But he has a huge program. But back then, it was kind of funny. I think I was his seventh customer. My wife almost killed me when she found out I gave him a credit card on the phone, because she started Googling him, which I didn't. She's like, I can't find anything for him on the internet. And this was a long time ago. And she started Googling and finding out, like, you're both named Andrew. You're both from Oklahoma. Your success in public was way higher. You were actually a successful CFO. He never was. And you paid him to teach you. And I was like, no, really, it was more on the marketing side. And his big deal, and I still tell people today, it was worth it. I think I gave him $7,000 on the phone, and I said it was worth every penny, because he brought into an idea into my head that I did not have. And this is way long before anyone was talking about this. He's like, Andrew, if you focus on one niche, you'll make a ton of money. He started talking about dentists and doctors and all these accountants that made a lot of money on dentists. And so I was like, oh, I never thought of that. That's kind of a cool idea. And I actually tried to chase dentists because they're everywhere and they make a lot of money. But what he didn't tell me was they're massively overserved.
Right.
So it was a great idea to niche. I've since tweaked his message, and we used to debate this endlessly in his community. I say, yeah, the riches are not in the niches. It's not any old niche. In my opinion, is if you have a great niche and you can quickly become a thought leader in that niche, it's a home run. And it'll be lower stress. You'll make more money and have more fun. But with the problem, we get so many people in my program, they've already wasted 2 years chasing hair salons or dentists or realtors or construction companies. And so I hear these complaints, and it's kind of, I relate it back to my college, changing majors, later and having to go back to school. It's the same deal. If you get a picture niche one time, like your major. And so if you blow it, you're going to be, I don't know how many people out there, but there's a lot who have picked a niche, wasted a couple of years, and then either quit altogether and went back to being a generalist or switch niches. And I did that too. And so I understand it, but I try to tell people I have a lot of teaching on niches. It's not that hard to find a great niche. There aren't many, but there's some really key criteria to find a great niche, and you want to do that. You want to do that homework, because that's step one to making a lot of money with less stress. stress. So
Well, one thing that's so interesting about your journey is, and this doesn't happen often. Like you came up when there was a new niche, like
yeah,
it
and
didn't exist before. And in our time, we have seen some of that. We've seen, so the internet companies, the websites, the crypto dope,
yes.
and we're starting to see maybe some others in kind of the AI, the data realms, but it's so rare to be in business at a time when new niches are being introduced, I think. And what a
Well,
great opportunity.
yeah. So I have thoughts on that too. So there's always going to be some great niches or even better industry, which is a set of many niches. And so in my lifetime, I could have gone back and so first off, oil and gas was a good example. When I got into oil and gas in 2000, it was an extremely mature industry in Oklahoma. It was, it'd been around 40 years. There were people, everyone knew each other, but I worked my butt off. It took longer, 3, 4, 5 years. And by the time I became an expert, it was a slam dunk home run. These are big companies, lots of startups, millions of dollars. I got paid a lot of money, but I didn't like the industry. But you're right. I think if you look out over a 20, 30-year career, you may in a normal lifetime get to participate in the birth of one or two industries. And so in 2000, we obviously had the birth of kind of, I don't know what the one word is for internet, tech, software, hardware, all of it
Yeah.
started basically in 2000. Now, that industry, here we are 25 years later, because I actually got into that niche when I first moved to Oregon in 2010. So even though I was 10, 15 years too late to that niche, it was fine. There's still
Mm-hmm.
startups everywhere. There's cap raises. There's VC. So one of my requirements to be a great niche is I say, look around. If it's a great niche, you will find private equity, venture capital, startups, incubators, angel investors everywhere, all 50 states. And so so most niches don't have that. And so I was like, if you don't have that, then go on to check that one off. But like you said, right now, AI, crypto, cannabis, hemp CD. So cannabis, we're in about year 10 to 12, but we're nowhere near. So it's definitely not too late to get into this
Right.
industry. It's grown to about 40 billion over 12 years. It's going to grow to 100 billion in the next 3 or 4. So we're going to see
Wow.
the explosive growth is ahead of us for certain. This is a global phenomenon. It's not going backwards, but I tell people if you get that good niche with high growth companies, mom and pops everywhere in most states, which we are today. You want CEOs to be easy to find, very easy to find and
Mm-hmm.
reach and approachable. And then you want just your mom and pops here where I am in Bend, Oregon, where you have 80,000 people, or Chicago or New York. I want them to be $5 to $30 million companies. Just if I just pick one out of a hat, and that's a really big requirement because if they're making under 5 million and not growing rapidly, they can't pay you the big fee.
Right.
And so if
Tell me more about this growth, this explosion in growth that you're seeing here over the next few years, and I think for any audience to hear that a niche or an industry is going to do a kind of growth, ears perk up a little bit, or at least they should, right? So tell us a little bit about that growth. Where's that's coming from?
So it's coming from so we're now fully legal in 25 states, but even in some states, it's still very small. So you'll still see like Oregon's market is bigger than New York. That's nuts. And Florida is the second biggest state in the US. It's going to have massive growth ahead. Texas is the other big elephant in the room. It's coming, New York. And so where we are, and you can look at Whitney Economics and other people forecast this all the time. And so if you looked at a bar chart and you went back 2012, every single year through Trump, through Biden, through COVID, doesn't matter what's going on out there in that crazy world, national revenues are going up massively quickly. And if you go forward 10 years, they're projecting even quicker growth because we're quickly moving towards federal legalization. So the last couple of years, and this was in the Biden administration, the federal government did a deep dive into cannabis. It's on Schedule 1. It's considered a criminal drug with no known medical use. And so the two big departments of the federal government where all of our scientists and hospitals are and doctors in the federal government, they're in the HHS, the Health and Human Service division that now is led by RFK, and then the FDA, our Federal Drug Administration. Well, both of those agencies, after years of study, said, hey, you know what, industry, you're right. Cannabis is actually medicine. There's hundreds of uses for it in the medical world and on all kinds of ailments, from anxiety, depression, cancer, you name it, autism, epilepsy. There's real uses. HHS said that. FDA chimed in. You know what? You're right. We agree. Then they put it to public comment last, late about a year ago. 94% of the comments came back positive. By the way, Gallup's done a poll of Americans. Do you want cannabis legal? That's the question every year since 1960. It's gone up like this. We're now at 80%. So this isn't Republican, Democrat. And this is the real answer. The reason this is going to be a massive, massive industry is not just the medicine side, also the recreation side. 8 out of 10 Americans want it. And it's one of our rare cases of this is not Democrat or Republicans. A majority of Republicans want this. A bigger majority of Democrats want it, and a majority of independents want it as well. And when you think about it, it makes perfect sense. If I said, what about alcohol, wine, and liquor and beer? Is that a Democrat thing or a Republican? You'd look at me like I'm crazy. We all like beer, wine, and liquor. It doesn't matter if you're Republican or Democrat. And even though alcohol causes violence, car wrecks, deaths every day of the year. So we know it causes a lot of harm, alcoholism and more. But nobody would say, oh, that's illegal or whatever. So anyway, that's the reason this industry is going to grow quickly. And it's an industry because the niches within the industry are farming, chemical processing, manufacturing, gummy bears, beverages, lotions, distribution, and then retail, all the dispensaries. And so you've got many niches within the industry as well. So
if you had to bet $1 and when this is going to be legal federally, when would you bet that $1?
If you'd asked me 6 months ago, I would have said for sure this year, because where the rescheduling sits, it's gone through all that 2 years of process with the government. It's literally sitting on the DEA's desk. So if the current DEA head wanted to sign it, it would be legal tomorrow. That's the final step. If it got back on Trump's radar, and Trump, by the way, did say, there's a Lex Friedman podcast out there you can go listen to. Right before the election, he said he's in favor of legal cannabis, medical cannabis, but it's not a very important thing to him. He's more concerned with tariffs and Ukraine and wars and all the other crap he's dealing with right now, fighting Musk. Whatever he's dealing with, cannabis is very low on his good or bad. But he said he did vote for it, yes, in the Florida election last year. And so anyone can go Google that on YouTube. I think it's on minute 24. Lex Friedman, ask him flat out, like, what do you believe on cannabis? So we're at the very fine. Again, if I had to bet, I think within 12 months we're going to see it legal. It'll bring in a ton of. So what else is our government fighting? They need money, and our cities need money, our states need money, and our feds need money. This is an easy win for money. We go look at the states.
So we're in the days before still.
Federal, but not states.
Right. But we're in the days before federal. What happens the day after it's legalized across the entire nation? Like what does that day after look like?
Oh, the good news is we've already got to see it once. And so I can tell you exactly what's going to happen. So what did I mean? So 2018, the Farm Bill, the Congress said, gosh, a lot of people are using CBD and it doesn't get you high and it comes out of the hemp plant. And this is stupid that hemp is illegal. I mean, you can use it for building buildings and stuff. And so they legalized hemp and CBD in the Farm Bill 2018. What happened overnight? People who'd never heard of CBD or hemp, it was everywhere, every airport, everywhere. And so when cannabis gets federally legalized and put on Schedule 3, that means it's going to now, what's on Schedule 3? Ketamine, testosterone. If you take a Tylenol with codeine, a kind of a mild prescription, steroid shot, all those are on Schedule 3. So it will be legal medicine. It will still be state legal. in all the states. That's going to move forward, whether no matter what the feds do. But then we won't have the 280E tax that penalizes the industry and makes cannabis companies pay more tax. But so you could say, oh, well, the government's going to lose money. They're actually going to gain money because the industry is going to probably quadruple within a couple of years. And there's just going to be so many more dollars, billions and billions of dollars that companies will be paying tax on, just like any other industry. So,
Well, I'm thinking about like your clients and the folks that you've served, and there's 160 documents out there now, but the day after, how many of those documents are going to change, and how many more are you going to have to add?
well, that's the good news too. None, because so we do, and I tell people ask this all the time of me. So we serve not just cannabis, we serve hemp and CBD right now. So hemp and CBD are fully legal, state and fed. Cannabis is not. So how do we do accounting first and foremost at the farm? And then, by the way, hemp, cannabis, even mushrooms, they're all plants. And they get processed into oil. Then they go into products like food and beverages or lotions. So how do we do accounting for manufacturing or farming or retail? Exactly the way we do it in the non-cannabis world. We do GAAP. We don't look at tax code. We do GAAP level cost accounting, which is the same in all 50 states. It's the same today in partially legal states, fully legal states, and it's the same before and after the moving to Schedule 3 has nothing to do with GAAP accounting. GAAP doesn't care about Schedule 3 or 4 or 1. So that's the good news. It'll stay that. Now, when we get to the tax return, a hemp tax return is more complicated than a cannabis tax return because a cannabis tax return says you can take no deductions or credits on your return. So what could be a simpler tax return?
Right.
Revenues and you pay your tax.
Uh-huh.
It turns out we can do a little bit more with cost of goods sold, but that's it. Cost of goods sold is not a deduction or a credit. It's a return of capital. So the good news is on our side, nothing's changing. We're going to serve our clients the way we always have. The federal tax return will be a little more complicated. We'll just have more deductions to go through like any other client. And then for the industry, the people that are out there that own the farms and own the dispensaries, they are going to have their business. There's actually a study from Viridian Capital that says their business will go up 8x overnight. So if, say you're a dispensary right now and you can sell at 1x revenues and you're doing 10 million in revenues, you could get 10 million for your dispensary on the corner of Chicago. After this legalizes, they're saying you can get 80 million for that same dispensary.
Wow.
Same customer. And that's because their cash flow is going to massively go up. Their tax bill is going down, valuations going up. So we're going to see M&A, we're going to see exits, we're going to see we're already seeing some of this. Mainstream beer companies, Coca-Cola, macaroni and cheese has dipped their
Ooh, really?
So,
I doubt that. Is that Kraft? I don't know if that's Kraft yet.
Yeah, it was Kraft. I forget. This was a while ago. They invested in one of the big cannabis software companies. I believe it was a $20 million investment in cannabis software. But you'll see all these players jump in because we've seen another industry that's kind of expanded the last 30 years, and that was beverage. So back in my day, in the 80s, if you wanted a glass of water, you went to the faucet and you poured yourself a glass of water. Today, if you just look at water, there's like literally 1,000 varieties of all kinds of things with different flavors and chemicals and sizes. And then you go into kombucha and sodas and beers and hemp and cannabis. And so as they start mixing up these different cocktails, we're going to see beverages explode for the next, I think, another 30, 40 years because people love it. It's high demand. It's highly profitable. And there's no limit to what you can create. So if you create a beverage tomorrow back down in your basement and people like it and you put a certain and your mixture of chemicals in it,
sure.
And it's like, oh, this reduces your arthritis and it tastes like raspberry, and you just take it every morning. So we'll see beer as well, beer and wine.
So if I was a CPA and I'd spent 2 years chasing dentists and I heard what you just had kind of described, I might be rethinking my niche and I might be looking you up. And what would I find if I looked you up? Like, what does it look like to work with you?
So first off, that's a great analogy. And so dentists and doctors, they meet a couple minor criteria. They're everywhere, small towns, big towns. They're everywhere, and they make a lot of money, so they can pay me a big fee. Where they lose out big time is two criteria. They're extremely hard to get. So dentists and doctors gatekeep. You don't just call your doctor up on the phone or your dentist. It's very hard to reach them. They're gate kept, and then they're massively overserved. That was a great niche 25 years ago. You're just too late to the game. And if you ever get one to talk to you, they'll say, "Oh, I've got a dental specialist. I've had them for 12 years. I don't need you." So then if they look me up on we're on dopecfo.com. I'm very easy to find. Andrew at dopecfo.com. You can follow me on Instagram. I put out a ton of content there. I'm at dopecfo1. Kind of like Air Force One, so easy to remember. I'm on LinkedIn. You can follow me. I help teach and plan and lead the AICPA Cannabis Conference every year, so I'm very easy to find. And they'll see that I write for different accounting publications, speak on stages. Not only me now, so 8 years later, the hundreds of CPAs and accountants in my program, we probably had at least 200 people speaking on stages all over the U.S. That continues literally. So cannabis events are in every state every weekend, and so there's things going on literally every end of the year. And so we have people last week speaking on stages. We have people speaking on stages this week. They're all over the place. They're at Ray works with me. He's at AICPA Engage this week. Um, and so we're pretty easy to find everywhere. And yeah, we love to help people get into the industry. Just the side benefits. I don't know if you can read behind me. These are our values, but I got a lot of these from talking to accountants too. That their complaints that they weren't appreciated, they were underpaid, overworked, they weren't having any fun. That's probably my number one message. That's the reason I'm still working at all. I want to have fun and make a difference in the world, and it's actually possible to do that and make decent money and feel appreciated by your clients. So if you are an accountant or CPA and you're not having fun and you feel you are underpaid, you should make a change. It's possible to.
There's a lot of those. There's a lot
Yeah,
of those.
don't stay in a job. That's another message, kind of a side topic. This wasn't available to us 25 years ago, but in today's world, with all the internet tools, cloud-based accounting, even PDFs, emails, Zoom and Teams and meetups, you simply do not have to drive to the client anymore. So if you're a niche expert, in the old days, 20 years ago, you had to find clients, right around your house. Now we can serve clients across the U.S. from anywhere, so it makes it easier. And so I tell people, whatever your resume is, say you're a bookkeeper and you just went to college 2 years, or you're a Big Four CPA, or you're a whatever that resume is, you have a worth in the job market. So if you can go get a new job tomorrow for 300 grand, great, that's your number. If you can get a job at 100 grand, that's your number. My message to you is you can, instead of getting a job, you can get one and only one client that will pay you maybe double what your worth is in the job market. So if you can go find a 100 grand job, I'm telling you, you can get a client to pay you 200 grand one. And then here's the really good news. If you can get one client that pays you double a job, and oh, by the way, work remote and be your own boss, what if I got four clients that each paid me double my job? Now I've just 8x'd my job worth. And so the question to me becomes, when I meet people, why would accountants stay in a job where they're underappreciated, overworked? If once they get the message, there are some criteria. You need a great niche. You need to get the tools and community and expertise. But if you can do that, you can just make way more money than at a job. And by the way, you can pick up equity in your clients too, and have the chance for multi-million-dollar payouts, like I have done many times over the years. So anyway, that's my message to accountants. If you don't like your job, get out of it. And even if it takes you a year, say you're like, I can't just quit my job, that's fine, but you can make a plan. Like, I want to go into cannabis. You can start even saving up for our program or others. Start getting the education, make your plan, and then go look for that client one that replaces your job income, and then you're off to the races.
It's a pretty good sales pitch you got there.
It's and by the way, if I talk to all my friends over in public and firms and whatnot, they're I get it. They're losing staff. They can't keep them. There's turnover. All the national firms now are using people out of India, Asia, Nigeria, all over the world. Um, Clients don't like that, but every single national firm's doing it. Even small firms are doing it. Um, and so it's a good and that's the other message too. Say, I'm old, so I'm aging out, but say you're only 30 and you're an accountant. Look at where you are. There's fewer CPAs coming in. All the baby boomers are aging out. There's massive demand. And so, yeah, you can go build your own firm. There's never been a better time. And then we've got all these tools so we can just work in our bedroom. So for the young people out there, the opportunity is just sky high. AI is coming for some pieces, but it's not coming for everything. The things it's going to hit first is what unfortunately most people do when they go on their own: bookkeeping and tax return prep. There's no value in either of those, and AI is already here for those. I mean, that stuff's already being auto filled and whatnot. So it's going to get only worse on those two. So if you can't offer a client much more value and really be a partner in growing their business, I like to say, if you're doing our model right, you tell the CEO, hey, look, if I'm not the second most valuable person in your company, but 6 months after you hire me, I'm not doing my job right. I want to take anything off your plate I can. I want to bring my ideas. I want to help you grow the business. AI is not going to kill that. No way. But if you're just doing bookkeeping or tax returns, um, go look at Intuit's stock price. Intuit's it's like this. And why? Because well, first off, they compete with their customers. They offer services, client services.
And they put out commercials they shouldn't put out.
Yeah, so it's it's crazy to see what's happening, and we get many people coming out of there. It's like, don't be a slave to Intuit. You can do much
Well,
better.
the thing that sticks out to me, I feel, is someone approaching you and wanting to work with you kind of gets the whole package. They all your experience, all 160 documents of reference materials, courses, 100 hours of training, and a niche that, to your point, is going to double here in the next few years. And once in 12 months, and you earn your dollar and your bet that you win, and the feds legalize it, it's just going to go crazy. And what a great time, to your point, of being someone in a firm who's struggling or working way too much, being underpaid. Maybe dad or mom used to be an entrepreneur and a CPA, and what better time than right now to come calling you?
Come jumping out. And by the way, even if the feds don't legalize, it's still up and to the right. It's growing massively. Any the states aren't waiting around. And yeah, we help. We have a very big client acquisition system. I get most people when I talk to them on the phone, they went out of their job. They're like, Andrew, I get it. You got tools and education, but I really need that client because I want to quit tomorrow. And so we get it. It's like, okay, we're going to help you get that client. We have a bunch of tools in our client system. I bring my marketing agency that's world class every Tuesday to our program. They help our members. As a matter of fact, right now they're rolling out Amara, who's been with me 7 years. She teaches marketing on stages literally all over the globe. She just came back from Paris. I'm teaching an AI workshop. And so she's rolling that out to my members. So she's made a bunch of AI tools specifically for accountants where she's layered in Claude, ChatGPT, and Gemini into a suite of tools to do your bio, offer letters, LinkedIn, website. So it's pretty cool. It's like,
Sounds cool.
I don't know much about AI, but she does. And so she was just like, I'm just rolling this stuff out to your members. So you do need to get versed in this AI stuff. It's gonna help you. The easy one that most of us get is like, oh, we can just write better real quickly. So I type an email or an offer letter, ChatGPT will probably do it better for you, or Claude, or whatever it is.
Well, this is the year of the agent, and it'll go down in history as the year that these agents showed up into the firms, and it's going to be a race from here on out to get as many agents deployed and some of that low level work, like you said, no longer being done by humans, so that there's more higher value, higher level work being done by accountants. And so the folks that are really comfortable behind closed doors doing their tax returns and their books each month are in for a rude awakening over the next couple of years.
Definitely.
So anything else, Andrew, before we close today? Anything you'd like to say to our audience and or share?
Yeah, that we would love to meet you. And again, it all comes down to value. If you, and that's where I think some things are going to be unchanged from 50 years ago and 50 years in the future. So, for example, word of mouth, there's no better way to build your business. That was true 100 years ago. It's going to be true 100 years. So, if you do good work and bring value to your client, they're going to love you, be happy to pay you, and refer you to others. If you can't bring big value, if you literally are just doing bookkeeping or a tax return, they're not going to want to pay you or refer you. So figure out a way to add value to that client, and that's the good starting way to we call it delivering a really high top shelf product with white glove service. Every market, and that's another thing that will exist. Just like in cars, we've got Lamborghinis and Mercedes, and then we've got used Fords that are 20 years old. So if you want to be the Walmart and sell a gazillion used Fords, or do you just want to sell one Lamborghini a month? I like the high end of the market. That's what we do. If you can deliver that high end, you'll get paid better. You'll have more fun. And really that whole bookkeeping tax prep, it's high volume, low pay. It's just a funnel of customers. So it's a better model to look at. Let's serve fewer clients and go deeper and make more.
So I think you shared a little bit about how people can reach out to you. We'll include some stuff in the video, in the notes that allows people to reach out to you and be able to get a hold of you and learn more. But anything else before we close?
No, it was great to learn more about what you all got going on, and had a lot of fun doing this.
Good, Andrew. We're very blessed to have you and honored to have you on here today. Thank you very much.
Well, thanks so much.